All right, I'm going to call to order the June 10th, 2024 Urban Experience Committee meeting. There was a request to move up the biennial budget later when Matt Boston comes in. I think he's... Oh, Matt, do you want to do the budget now or after? Wait a second. I don't see him. So we'll wait for him. Okay. So if we could start with Tammy Pomkus with the monthly permit report. And then when Mike Piccolo comes, we'll get you guys in.
Good morning.
Afternoon.
Afternoon. It is a Monday. So for some trends and highlights from the DSC, our total commercial building permit applications are up compared to this time last year in May, so that's good. Year to date, we're also up 174% from last year. Great. Job values are up. We're at an all-time high. Second highest year-to-date total for residential construction. So we're a little bit behind 2016. Third highest year-to-date for non-renewable building permit applications. So this is takes a lot of those trades, boilers, elevators, things out. Most single-family residences permitted in a month so this is the most since 2017 with 156. We have also been busy in the DSC doing a whole host of other things besides just permitting, but one permit to take note of is we did get the first sort of technology hub permit out the doors. This was a TI in the old Triumph building, so the Terminal 7 building now. And that had a job value at $1.6 million. We have selected a new permitting system. So out of the 15 RFPs that came back, we had gone through proposals on those and gone through all the demos, and we made a unanimous decision. So of all of the parts of the city that touch permitting and licensing, taxes, all of those, we have decided on the Davenport Group. It's called LAMA, but it's LAMA for land management. We're very excited to get to work with them. They're really excited. Had major compliments for our IT staff. Their ability is going to help them, and so hopefully that transition and implementation will be going well. We're hoping to get the contract to council in July and then get going on that. We've made some promotions within the DSC, so promoting from within to keep growing our staff. And so we've now promoted 2 permit techs up to planning specialists, so they'll be processing all SEPAs, so you'll have a single point of contact for those. And then just helping kind of free up some of the planners and building plans reviewers to do the bigger, more complicated jobs. We are implementing a new queuing system in the DSC. So QLess, our old system, was not great. We're going to be rolling out Qmatic. So hopefully it'll be a little bit easier. We'll be able to see our metrics a little bit better of when people are coming in, kind of when the busy times are. And so that'll be good. Our photo inspection program of roofing permits, we've held additional trainings for contractors and now issued over 340 permits through that. So that's where they submit photos instead of our inspectors having to go out on the site. So it speeds that time up and they're able to keep moving on to other jobs, not waiting for us. Getting into the numbers. So we're up a little bit for year to date, and this is total building permit applications for everything. Construction values were also up, so this is good. Multifamily housing units were a little bit down right now, but again, and you kind of heard this last month, we have a lot in review right now. We just haven't issued them. We are hoping to issue the Radio Park apartments. I think June 17th is when the contractor will be pulling that permit. So those are up on Regal right next to the South Complex soccer fields. So that one had some financing trouble with, around COVID, but they've gotten all that worked out. So excited to see that come through. Single-family residences were up year to date. So good, positive trends. Public and private job values, again, we're up for the average for the year to date, down a little bit for the month. This is mainly by private job values of commercial remodels and new residential buildings. Things to note is in 2020 was when we had the new Shaw Middle School, Glover Middle School, and On Track Academy. So those were the big ones in 2020. In 2021, it was Northeast Middle School, and in 2022 was Sacagawea Middle School. So, without having those big schools, we're doing pretty well. Total residential permits. So again, our average is down, but this is because they're in review, haven't just kind of going through those revision cycles and haven't been issued. So still decent numbers, 341 so far. So housing in the pipeline, we've got 115 more single family, 20 duplexes, 2,082 multifamily, change of use and remodels. One thing to note on the change of use is 96 of those residences are downtown in the Peyton Building. So that will be one of the change of uses. And then future projects that have come in through their pre-dev or multifamily, it's another 2,000 units. By council district, District 1, that is the highest because that's Jubilant, a huge project. And then we have a new area of growing neighborhoods. So looks like Indian Trail has the most, East Central, 5 Mile, Logan, Hilliard. Largest projects, 3 out of the top 10 are multifamily. And then the 2 bolded ones are projects issued this month in May. So that's the Chaz Iron Bridge build out. And then, Chaz is going out in May. The sterile processing renovation is going out in May, but there are 3 multifamilies. And then largest projects, Radio Park will go out, Cause on 4th. The footing and foundation was already issued. This is the rest of the building then. So that one you'll start seeing that moving. And then just outside of this that didn't make the top 10 was the $15 million Spokane County Operations Building. Any questions?
You probably don't have it right now, but just curious what our average time to permit is and also what the effect of the surge of permitting applications is on that average.
We're getting pretty caught up to the surge of residential that was turned in. Now we're also about 4 weeks on commercial and going into summer, so we got to make sure people's time off calendars are in there. So we'll probably stay around 4 weeks now. We do have a bunch of staff this week at training. We brought in a nationally acclaimed training. So a lot of our inspection staff and our building plans review staff is at that training, but we're trying to make sure we've always got somebody available, but we want them to get the training that they need. So these are going over the new codes, the new energy codes, things like that.
And you said 4 weeks for commercial. What do you think it is for residential?
Residential, we're trying to get back to the 2 weeks.
To the 2 weeks. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And like I said, we're pretty caught up on the big mass that came in before March.
Other questions?
At the 5 Mile and Indian Trail Neighborhood Council meetings, neighbors brought up that they noticed that a lot of the housing up there is changing into long-term care facilities for like in-home care. do we track that or keep track of how many units or like people are being housed?
We don't keep track of the number of people being housed, but they do have to get a permit to convert it to a adult family home, but all of that is done through the state. So a lot of the information and the tracking of that is done at the state level, but they do have to come in and get a permit from the city. So in that regard, we know that they're out there, but we don't track any of the statistics.
Okay, thank you.
And then I just had a question about, for all the data of permits that you're showing, do you have the number of like what our goal is for the year, of like what we're hoping to get? I don't know if we've ever talked
As
about
many
that.
as possible.
Well, I know that we've talked about like, this is how many X number of units we need to address the housing shortage. I don't know if we've ever actually like compared to see if where we're measuring to that goal.
I mean, we always want to do more than we did last year, but we're kind of dependent on what comes to us. But I can definitely show you where we ended last year at. And I mean, we've been every year for the last 3 years, substantially more each year.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, then we're gonna jump ahead to the biennial budget ordinance, and then we'll go back to Luis Garcia after that.
Good afternoon. We're going to tag team this item. So under state law, cities can adopt an ordinance to create the biennial budgeting process. The ordinance has to be adopted by the end of June. In fact, the state law says it has to be enacted. So to avoid the confusion over what the city considers to be enacted versus what the state considers to be enacted, we're recommending that this be adopted, enacted, and in effect by the end of June. Under the biennial process, the budget process starts January 1st in odd number years. So if we don't pass the ordinance by this end of this June and start January 1st of 2025, we have to wait till 2027. Then it goes obviously for 2 years, and during that process, as included in the draft ordinance, is a process spelling out the mid-biennial review and modification process, again, set out by state law. And I would also point out that under state law and incorporated into our ordinance are some additional emergency expenditure provisions, which obviously, given the circumstances of what we've experienced twice this year already with declarations of emergency, is just one more tool for the city, for the council to have on hand in those situations. The state law also requires that this ordinance be adopted with 5 votes, which is another reason why we're treating this as an emergency ordinance, to make sure we get it done by the end of the year, recognizing that without biennial budgeting procedures, we're going to be facing this annual continual cycle of trying to come up with a budget with all the budget challenges reflecting the numerous needs that are coming forward in the past couple years, with COVID leading into encampment issues, going into opioid issues. So those are the reasons for the emergency declaration, also including the requirement that we have 5 affirmative votes to enact this ordinance. And we have Matt Boston here also to ask any more specific budgeting questions.
Any questions?
Mind if I just say a couple things really quick? So with the biennial budget approach, there are going to be a handful of things that we're going to have to kind of comb through as we review our procedures. Something, Councilmember Cathcart, that you were one of the main architects of in the mid-year budget review is the opportunity for us to make adjustments. Per RCW, if you incorporate a biennial budget, you can't do adjustments to the budget, the biennial budget itself, until I think the earliest is 8 months after the start of the budget. We could still do the biennial, we could still do the quarterly reviews to kind of do the tracking, but just to be aware of any sort of changes that we're going to need to make on the SMC that we have in code. We just hope that you could be supportive of those changes as we look to implement the biennial budget approach. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. That was quick and easy. So then we'll go back to the second item on the agenda, which is Luis Garcia about fee schedule. I was trying to pull back the agenda. An ordinance related to permits and fee schedule.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. So this is a ordinance update really to our parking permit program, more specifically our downtown residential parking permit program. It has, at least since 2017, has stayed pretty static, and yet more and more people are purchasing them as well. So this is an update to, one, correct that, because the cost of operations and the cost of parking has also rose during that time period. A couple of things that are going with this update. We're actually moving to a digital permit system. This is a good thing for the user as well. If they previously or currently, if they don't hang their placard on there, they could be subject to a infraction. Well, with going digital with that permit, they wouldn't have to battle with that. Another big bonus for it is that there's going to be some recognition for people that have, income restrictions or whatnot, so we can have a discount rate for people who qualify. The reason for that is because previously in our current ordinance, there was no language for it. And so there would have had to have been a charge starting right now, and if the ordinance was passed as such, it would be at the $50 a month. So we also included that in this ordinance update. That's also part of it.
Question. Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, so how much is the additional revenue?
Well, that's a good question. So if all behavior stays the same, and the people who had previous, fee waivers or whatnot, it could be quite substantial. So if all predictions that we can make, it's about $300,000 annually, when right now it's about $100,000, $90,000 is what we usually take in.
And what is the thought process around sort of creating this change where it seems like you'll have a substantial number subsidizing another group of folks for parking purposes? I guess why make that change? Why not just keep it standard at 25 so that it's more fair for everybody?
Yeah, I would say that it's trying to recognize some people that have some restrictions. Yet the upper end of the payment, the standard payment of $50, would still be cheaper than a STA bus pass. So that's kind of where the figures came into place. But it's also just recognizing, people have struggles.
And how much do we charge people to park in other neighborhoods?
In other neighborhoods?
Yeah.
In the residential neighborhoods, there's no devices.
So can I ask, what's the equity in charging residents downtown in the Riverside neighborhood versus charging them in another neighborhood?
Sure. I would say that the differences would be is that there is within a more commerce area. So the makeup is totally different between the two. So again, it's not unheard of usually around universities that they have residential parking passes, or where another use is kind of creating some sort of challenging for those residents. It basically protects them.
And are there any changes to the fee structure that would benefit the community in other ways, such as, other violations that are a danger to the community, such as blocked driveways?
Block driveways?
Yes.
Not in this ordinance, no.
And
Not in this ordinance
that's
or
been something
the
we've talked
program.
about a lot. Has that been something that you've looked at?
Yeah, it's something that's more of an enforcement component of it, which obviously more revenue would be the opportunity to enforce, since the ratepayers in the downtown do subsidize the neighborhood patrols. So this would provide some sort of support for that.
So just
Hey,
last
okay.
comment. Sorry, just last comment. So I just to say all these and to ask these questions, because
Sure.
I do plan to bring forward an amendment that would keep the residential fee flat at 25. In fact, I could argue that it should be free, but keep it at 25 because it's reasonable, and significantly increase penalties such as blocking driveways and things like that are frankly a danger. If somebody's trying to, in an urgent way, get to medical facility or something else, there are issues there. And so I think there's better ways to attract more revenue than by penalizing just everyday people trying to do their parking.
Sure, and so adjudication, and absolutely, Councilmember, trying to adjudicate these citations for like the blocked driveway and whatnot, typically doesn't recoup the cost of the enforcement. That's why it's subsidized by the ratepayers of the downtown, with parking services going outside of the downtown core to enforce.
I agree.
All right, other questions, comments? I just had a question about what the revenue generated would go towards? Is it just towards the parking fund in general?
Yeah, so any type of parking revenue that's generated does go into the operations. So it goes into, a couple of things that parking does. It obviously enhances the downtown core when we can make investments into the downtown core. That's what a typical parking system does when you pay to park. But yeah, it strictly goes to operations where it doesn't have to depend on any general fund.
Council President?
Thank you. What metrics will be used for subsidized parking pass versus the full fare parking passes?
Yeah, so right now, it was kind of arbitrary, I will admit, the program we inherited. We will be creating some internal policy for that. Typically, if you're on some sort of subsidy, we would qualify you, that you would qualify for that discounted rate under the idea of this program.
Yeah, on that note, I was like, would it be worthwhile to clarify that in the ordinance of what qualifies as low income, or is that irregular?
Yeah, typically it would be a policy that would qualify that. But yeah, it's something that I'd be more than happy to share kind of what we were aiming for.
And want to also give a chance to council members Bingle and Navarrete who are online. Always feel free to raise your hand or unmute like Council Member Klitsky was last week. All right. All right, Councilmember Cathcart.
Yes, sir.
And the parking committee still exists, and now the city is in control of that parking committee. Have we called a meeting to get a review of this proposal?
So the Parking Advisory Committee, I think, is what you're saying too. So it's kind of a part of a larger conversation that we're having. Maybe the Transportation Commission that's being discussed would be more appropriate to that. The reason for it is because recruiting for the Parking Advisory Committee on its face has been challenging because when it was initially created, it was created as more of a deciding where we're going to put the investments to. So if they had surplus revenue, they would do the Gateway project, or they would do flower baskets and stuff like that. Since we haven't had the revenues, the surplus to be able to do those types of projects, I think interest sort of fell down, even though there is more to that committee than just earmarking projects. So I would say that right now, until we had a quorum, we wouldn't be holding any meetings. Hopefully, we can get that Transportation Commission and kind of fold it into that.
So you're okay deferring this until that gets stood up then?
I would not like that. I would like to be able to have the conversation out with the elected officials to see if we can push this forward.
Oh, Councilmember Bingle.
Hey, thank you. What's the quorum on the Parking Advisory Committee?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
What would be
the quorum?
What constitutes quorum? Ooh.
Yeah, how many people would be a quorum on that?
I'd have to check with about that, council member. My apologies. I'll circle back to you.
Because I think, because myself and it might be Councilmember Dillon are on that committee as well. I know people like Alicia Barbieri, and I actually had a conversation with them earlier this year as I was looking at some parking stuff downtown. This I could be misunderstanding this, but my understanding was that they weren't meeting simply just because meetings hadn't been called. But it would be something that I'd be interested in discussing when it comes to parking downtown and parking throughout the city. And so I'm curious to know what the quorum is, because I think that we actually might have a quorum of folks. If nothing else, I'll reach out to people and make sure that they're at those meetings.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Councilman Bingle, another thing that happened at the kind of the last part of last year when we were trying to find people to serve on that committee was we did have a handful of applicants that didn't go through the mayor's review during the time. So we had, I think, 3 applicants that were sitting at the mayor's office waiting for that review, previous administration.
And council, just so you know, it's council members Zappone, Klitsky, and Bingle from the council side on that committee.
Luis, what kind of outreach has been done already on this? Has there been any outreach or to community members?
Yeah, we've been talking to obviously the DSP and those types of entities that we communicate with frequently. Oh, sorry.
Emily says that there has not been any interaction with the bid on this issue, so that has not occurred.
I'll make sure to circle back with her, but yeah, this is something that isn't new. It actually started under the Woodward administration.
Oh, thank you. Sounds like there will be still some conversation on this item.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Next item, I think we're going to have Eldon Brown come up with a few items to go over. So while you're up here, you can just go in whichever order you'd like to go.
Good afternoon. First item is talking about the Lower Terrace sewer system. And basically, when the map pops up here, the Lower Terrace area is basically out in the northwest part of town. Starts roughly at Rifle Club Road where that intersects 9 Mile Road, goes north all the way from the hillside on the east side of 9 Mile. It kind of goes up towards Indian Trail, all the way down to the river on the west side. That's kind of our Lower Terrace sewer study. You can kind of see that on the map up here. What I'm trying to show is the developer is actually trying to build a pump station in that area. Today, we have 3 or 4 existing little stations out there that provide service to the development we have. The city looked at trying to provide a pump station years ago, a regional station for that whole area. And the cost, I want to say it was about 17 million, 10 to 15 years ago. And we've never had it scheduled in our program because of that cost at this point in time. So now, as part of the redevelopment, I should say, of the Sundance Golf Course, and there we have a developer willing to kind of step up and build that backbone infrastructure that would actually potentially eliminate 3 to 4 of those existing little stations, build the framework to start off with a bigger one out there, and we're trying to do a developer agreement that would actually reimburse the developer for anything over and above their actual costs for serving their developments. The upsize costs, the oversized costs, he needs to be reimbursed for. They're going to be the bank on this thing. They're going to build the actual overall system. So that's what the developer agreement's all about, is actually coming up with a fair and equitable way to share the cost between the developer and the city. So that's what we've been working on. The map kind of shows that we go clear out to the Sundance pump station, or Sundance Golf Course site, and that's where development kind of starts. And the developer, at this point in time, has picked up 3 or 4 other properties in that area out there, which would add into his Sundance development. And so that's what we're trying to pick up for his fair share of this system. Everything else out there, when the city adds into it, any other properties besides the developers would pay the actual general facility charges, and we would use general facility charges to credit off the developer's fair share of that system, is what we're trying to do. So there's a lot of details that go into this thing. We have hydrogen sulfide issues for a pipe that's as long as this one is. We're talking about a 4-mile long system out there. And so it's a extensive pipe system that actually has to house the line, and you have to clear it every so often to get rid of the hydrogen sulfide in that pipe. So we're working out engineering details to it, but the agreement's all about reimbursing the actual developer their fair share. Anything over and above they've built as part of the upsize of the city system, they should get reimbursed back for. And that's what the general facility charges we would use would be to actually provide credits to do that. So I'd be happy to answer questions.
So Eldon, the smaller pumps would just be taken offline then?
Yeah, it'll take a period of time to actually install the main framework out there. We'd get rid of those stations and pipe them over to the new regional station. And actually, that's part of the intricacy of this system on here, is you have to start off with low flow out there to build just the initial development and be able to expand that to a high flow. We're talking about going up possibly to up around 5,000 houses for the ultimate flow, and starting off, of course, with a couple hundred as you initially get it up and running. So you got a site that accommodates that, where you actually can start off with pumps that provide low flow. Then you get into the ultimate system out there, and we need a site big enough to be able to expand it. And city will do that later on. Once we inherit the initial station, we'll upsize it later as you get some additional development into it. So we can kind of control when you actually put the other stations coming into this new station. That would be under the city's direction and control to do that later on. But right now, we're just going through the process of coming up with an agreement to, provide the developer their fair share of costs. Since they're the bank on this thing, they need to get reimbursed back for anything over and above what it would take to serve their properties. That's what the agreement's all about. Be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Bingle.
Yeah, Councilmember Bingle.
Sorry, my hand is still up from earlier.
Anyone else?
I think this
Sorry, I do have a
makes
question,
sense. But I would really love to see like a little chart of how this is going to flow through and come back, and what the
Yeah, we have
overall-
some maps we'd be happy to share with you
Awesome,
between now
thank
and
you.
when you actually have it on the docket for approving the agreement, we'd be happy to share some of that stuff with you.
And kind of maybe a mind map of where the money goes to and how it's going to all balance out.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah?
All right, the next one.
Councilmember Bingle did.
Oh, no, he did mention that. Okay, Councilmember Bingle.
He's gone.
Yeah, and you might cover this in some of the others because I know you got a lot coming up, Eldon. But how long have we been working on this particular one up in that area?
We probably started working on the initial concepts of this back in 2018. I think the developer got preliminary plat approval on 2 of their properties here, and one of them just recently in 24, and the other one back in about 20 on a couple of, they're in the county, the 2 plats are. They've had preliminary plat approval, but of course, they don't get any final plat until we can come up with a sewer and water system that actually provides service to them, and that's what we're working on. Any other questions?
Keep going.
Okay, the next one we have is we're releasing a sewer utility easement on Lower Terrace, on the Pros properties, which is located out here on 14th Avenue, just on the south side of I-90. As you can kind of see on the map up there, we've got various easements that have been highlighted. The one that says Alley and Evergreen on that map is one that we really want to release. We initially approved a street vacation back in 1981 on this site. This is where the Pros development's taken place. And we can actually release that easement where it says Alley and Evergreen. That one right there, we've talked to all the utility purveyors. We no longer need any easements on that one. Everything else that we have highlighted there, the one right next to it that says Woodland, we have a public sewer in that one, and so we cannot release that actual easement. So all we're trying to do is really release the one that says Evergreen, and the one that says in blue there, it's an alley, never had an easement or never had an actual restriction where we retained easements for that vacation back when it was done in 81. So anyway, developer's working with us to release the one that says Evergreen, the green one down below is on C Street, and the other one that's in red on there. Those are going to be future ones that they come back to us on once we've talked to all the utility purveyors to see if we can actually release those 2. But right now, we're just talking about releasing the one on Evergreen. We have checked with all the utility purveyors, and they're in agreement to do that.
Questions on this one?
The next one is our vacation of Adams Street from 3rd Avenue down to I-90. We've been working on that one for a long time on here. We had the hearing on this back in 2021. What we're showing in green there is what we've come up with, which was one of the conditions we had. Basically, we vacated the rest of that right-of-way that's kind of showing there's 55 feet of actual right-of-way width in that street. And near that area in green that I've outlined was something we've been dealing with for the last 2 or 3 years on trying to come up with an agreement between the adjoining property owners, between the VOA building on the west and the automotive building on the east side. Those property owners have been not in agreement until to date on what we could actually do to restrict parking along that west curb line of Adams Street. So what that green line indicates on here is we're going to have the fire line striped in that particular area, 20 feet wide. And then at the very south end, you can see there's a little parking stall established down there, which would actually be utilized to run whatever type of facilities needed to go into the VOA building. We need some type of a parking stall right at the very end of that fire lane to make that happen. That was kind of the breakthrough piece of documentation in my mind that actually got us to where we have an agreement coming together. So anyway, we're ready to actually do the final reading of that vacation. We still have some details to work out with how people want to fence areas off along that particular, both the alley to the east, which is also going to be part of the vacation. Jacoby, if you have that other map, we'll just show the rest of the vacation there. What we show in red is the whole vacation of what we're actually trying to do that we had the hearing on back in 21. So that alley that goes over to Jefferson over there is got a lot of parking. WSDOT has the right of way on the south side, and we got automotive places primarily that own property on the north side. We're trying to work out how they may try to do some fencing along the right of ways in there. We have easements that are going to be retained on both the 55 feet of Adams Street itself and that alley, but we would allow that fire line to be striped on Adams, and some fencing could occur as long as they don't restrict our easements. But anyway, we're about ready for the final reading on this. We've been discussing how we get to a final agreement on that fire lane for quite a period of time. Council President Wilkerson's been heavily involved with that one, and so I appreciate all of her efforts on helping move this along.
I just asked Ellen if we can get this done before my time was up on council. Also, what else was I think a game changer when WashDOT came and said they were going to do fencing along the backside to help mitigate some of the unhoused transitory activity on the backside. So that was helpful as well.
And we'll still work out the fencing details. We're just trying to get to the final reading of the vacation, and then we can hopefully work out the final fencing details, kind of in conjunction with this turning into private property. But we will have easements retained on all the red areas on there so that we don't have permanent structures built on those. They can put fencing and like parking and a fire lane, things like that on it, but we don't want any permanent structures built on any of that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about that one.
Any questions?
The last one we have is a potential alley vacation, and it's over between Lee and Stone Street from Broadway to Springfield, kind of as shown on the map there. It looks like a good candidate for a vacation on your dead ends at Springfield on the south side. It's totally an unapproved alley. And Stone Street on the east side and Broadway to the north are also unimproved streets. So the only improved streets we got there are Lee Street and Springfield. So we do have a property owner that's on that northeast corner. He's got those two upper lots on the very northeast corner of that red area on the vacation, who is not in support of this vacation. He's not, the rest of the properties have signed the vacation petition. They have enough to actually process it. They need 66 2/3%. We have forewarned people on there that we need to know some type of something from that property owner that opposes it, just to find out before we get to the hearing, just so we understand why they might be against it, just so we can represent that to the council. We do have a responsibility to go ahead and process it if they so choose, and that's what we're trying to do. But I want to forewarn you, we're trying to find out some more information on this thing before we actually set the hearing, just to see what the issues might be. If they can tell us what they are and everybody can come to resolution, it still makes sense to do it, council will have that opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like we don't know yet exactly why they're opposed, but do we know what the purpose is for the vacation itself? Is there a clear reason that's been articulated?
You know, and it probably has. I haven't looked at it here of recent times. It's really an unimproved alley that's not utilized all that well. It's one I think they just want to clean up from a vandalism type perspective. In my estimation, the house that's not for it, or at least it hasn't responded to it. There's a house right on those two lots that I'm talking about, and there's businesses on the west side. But I'm assuming it's something to do with just trying to mitigate the vandalism and doing some things to protect the property. But the property owner, as far as I know, on that northeast corner up there, he's just not represented anybody here yet. He's not been able to, the people trying to represent the vacation have not been able to get a hold of this property owner to respond to it. So I don't know what the issues are, but we've told them that we don't like bringing anything forward to council if we don't have an idea what the issue actually is. If they're against it, we'd at least like to understand it so the council can make a decision. So today, we don't know what that is, but we're trying to find that out.
I'll go drive past, see if there's something obvious, but yeah, hopefully they'll let us know.
But if it was vacated, I can just give you roughly the issues to it, is we don't have any city utilities in that alley on there, so they would pay us the actual assessed value, about $17,000. They would do closure work at Springfield and where the alley comes in there, because that's a paved street, and then basically just paying the money, and those are the type of things we have. I think we have easements proposed to be retained in there for other utility purveyors. I just threw those in there in case we move it forward to get it to the point where it could be vacated. It makes some sense from a staff perspective to do it. We just don't know what the concerns are of that property owner.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just back to the Prose Apartments. So with those easements, has there been any conversation, do you know, about paving some of those streets like 14th? Because that'll be a main access point and some of that missing sidewalk.
Yes,
Okay,
that's all part of the development.
great. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. And item number 8 is Megan Duvall. Is she online? Yep. With the
I am.
Cook Able House.
Yes. So let me share my screen. There we go. Okay. I'm hoping you're seeing my screen now.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Everything's a little different. There we go. I'm a little bit laggy. I'm going to go through real quick the background of our local historic designation process. So the Spokane Register of Historic Places, this is our local program. It is voluntary. Consent of the owner is required for listing. We protect these historic resources through our management agreement. And design review is just when a building permit is sought and primarily for the exterior of the building changes. And then this is also how we offer incentives to property owners. So to be eligible, properties generally have to be 50 years of age or older, and they have to meet criteria within our municipal code. We can list building sites, districts, structures, and objects. And the 5 categories we have, category A, this particular property that we're going to look at today actually meets 3 categories. So it meets category A, which is broad patterns of history. Category B, it also meets significant people to Spokane. It meets category C, which is basically our architecture, design, construction, also architect, and that's what this one's going to be under. Category D is our archaeological or prehistory category. And finally, we have category E, which is cultural heritage. And let's go into this one. So this particular property, the Cook Able House, it's one of our 2 nominations of underrepresented communities that we got a grant for a year ago from the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation. So the second one that we're going to be looking at, not right now, but in the near future, is the MLK Center, actually, the East Community, or East, what am I trying to say? The East Side Community Center. So anyway, that one's coming in the future. So the 1905 Cook Able House at 1032 A Street is significant under 3 categories as established in the Spokane Municipal Code. Category C, due to its association with architect Julian Able. It's significant under category B, due to its association with Elizabeth Cook and her husband, John Cook III. The house is also significant under category A, due to its association with home front housing initiatives during the World War II period. Oops, I want to go back here. Okay, so that's actually Elizabeth Cook's family that you see in the pictures here, and the house in probably the 1920s. The Cook Able House is exceptionally significant under category C in the area of architecture as the work of master architect Julian Francis Able. Able has over 200 attributions nationwide, including the Widener Memorial Library at Harvard University and Philadelphia's Central Library. He was also the primary designer of the West Campus of Duke University. At least 25 of Able's attributions have been listed on the National Register of Historic Places, ranking him among the most represented architects on the National Register. The Cook Able House, designed for his sister Elizabeth, was among his earliest designs, and it is likely the only example of his work in Washington State, or really anywhere west of the Mississippi River. Additionally, the Cook Able House is among Able's few attributions as a detached single-family house in nature. The house is also significant under Category B due to its association with Elizabeth Cook, Julian's sister, and with Abel's brother-in-law, John F. Cook III. Elizabeth Cook was an accomplished artist who exhibited her handcrafted windows and innovative rope work at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. John Cook III also rises to the level of significance for a Category B nomination. Cook was from a prominent and wealthy Black family with roots in the nation's capital. Cook moved out west to northern Idaho in the 1890s, where he was elected mayor of the town of Bonners Ferry, previously known as Bonnersport. And he was the only Black resident of the town at the time that he was elected mayor. A graduate of Howard University, he was also the town's pharmacist and postmaster. Additionally, and unrelated to Abel, the Cook-Abel House is eligible under Category A in the areas of military and social history due to its association with home front initiatives during World War II. Spokane's population ballooned, as we know, during the early 1940s as war workers flooded to Spokane to work in wartime factories and related industries. Demand for housing skyrocketed for the first time since the first decade of the 20th century. The federal government developed and initiated the innovative Out-Migration Housing Program, which encouraged folks to move out of their houses in the city's core and to then convert those vacated houses into multifamily units for war workers. The work was paid for by the government, and special zoning exceptions were allowed for these units to be placed in a single-family zone. As part of that program, the Cook-Abel House was converted to multifamily housing in 1943, and you can see the entrance that was made on the north side of the house to access the upper two apartments that had been created. It actually was broken into 3 apartments, so one on the main level, one on the second level, and one at the attic level. The house has since been reconfigured into a single-family residence. So the Cook-Abel House has experienced changes to the exterior, many of which occurred during that mid-century period when it was converted to multifamily. But some of those mid-century changes have developed significance of their own during the new, including the new entrance on the north side. A more flexible interpretation of integrity is appropriate in this case since the house is exceptionally significant due to its association with architect Julian Abel and first resident Elizabeth Cook and her husband John Cook III. The house retains sufficient integrity of location, design, materials, and workmanship to convey its historic character from the period of significance. I'll run through some of these last couple slides. See the interior of the house. The Cook-Abel House was approved by the Spokane Historic Landmarks Commission for listing on the Spokane Register under categories A, B, and C at their meeting on May 15th. And that's my staff report. If there were any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Not seeing any, Megan. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. All right. So that gets us to the point in time count presentation with Adam. Or Ariel. Looks like you. Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you. We've actually got Daniel Ramos here to do the presentation. That's who CHHS contracted with. So he is coming right now. Hold on just a second.
Welcome back, Daniel.
Hi, everybody. I'm back on a temporary basis. Daniel Ramos, he, him, on behalf of the CHHS, going to give a presentation on the point-in-time count this year. I'm just going to pull up my notes here.
And Daniel, there's a clicker down there, and you can advance the slides.
Okay, great, thank you. So my understanding is I have 10 minutes, so I'm going to run through this pretty quickly and hopefully leave some time for some questions.
It's the down arrow.
There we go. So I'll be giving the larger presentation on the 24th, In that presentation, I'll go through the details of the methodology for both the point-in-time count and the housing inventory count. What I'll just say about methodology in general is HUD prescribes this methodology, and it was followed this year as it was in all previous years. This is a federally required report for the continuum of care dollars that the city receives, and as the Homeless Management Information System database lead. So that is what gives us the authority and the requirement to complete this report. The headquarters this year was at Empire Health Foundation. There were 170 volunteers that did this count last year. I'm happy and pleased to share that it was 239, so an increase in volunteers. Thank you to Empire Health, and thank you for everyone that participated and helped, providers included. So initial results, I'm going to skip to the third slide. Pull up my notes here. So what you see in that top number is the overall count. It went from 2390 last year to 2021 this year, which is a 15% decrease overall in the homeless count. We have an increase of 10% in those staying in shelters and transitional housing. That's that 1435 to 1578 figure. And then what we see here is a 54% reduction in unsheltered homelessness from 955 to 443. Here on this slide, we ask all adults about their vulnerabilities, and I've put in here the percent of veterans that made up this, the demographic for this report. But what you can see there at the top is that we had a 20% decrease in chronic homelessness from last year to this year. And of all the adults, 870 that answered the question about serious mental illness, 49% of 49% of adults said that they were experiencing some form of serious mental illness. And then you can see the other vulnerabilities there. So the counts, this is chronic homelessness year after year. Excuse me, I said decrease. I meant increase on that chronic homeless count, 20%. Skip this slide. This is the demographics of the point-in-time count. So this is folks who identified with one or more race this year. What I want to call out is that HUD did something differently. For every race category that you see up there, HUD actually had us ask, if you identify as white, do you also identify as being Hispanic, Latino? So doubled every single category. So this is an aggregate of that with some smoothing so that we can see it as we did last year, give us a little bit more ability to comprehend the numbers. But what you will notice is that Hispanic now has its own line there as a percentage point. What I do want to call out is there's still disproportionality, although minor, with our BIPOC population. Those other percentages, that I know they're really tiny, that is the 2020 census in comparison. So where do we see disproportionality in this racial makeup? With our Native American communities, Black African American communities, and just those who identify as multiracial overall. This next slide here is a breakout of gender. Most individuals identified as either men or women, less than 5% identified as another gender there. So not in any way trying to invisibilize that, they're just small counts here when we did that survey. This next one. Veterans continue to hold steady in terms of how many we see out on the streets and in shelters. This has always been a bright spot for this community, really having a lot of resources for veterans, and that continues to happen. So the companion report to the point-in-time count is the housing inventory count. If we want to know how many people are experiencing homelessness, we want to know how many beds there are for them. And every year, HUD asks us to do this inventory count. That's calling up shelters, asking how many beds they have, seeing which programs have gone offline and online. So this is really categorized in HUD's terms by interventions or beds, which I'll show you here which are shown up here. So we have emergency shelters. Those are our emergency beds. Transitional housing beds. These are longer, 2-year, heavy case management, intensive beds. Permanent housing beds. These are what you might think of as just standard permanent housing out in the community. Permanent supportive housing. This is housing with intensive supportive services, case management, typically on site. Rapid rehousing, what you might think of as rental assistance dollars, and other permanent housing. This is permanent housing where you do not need to have a disability. So let me show you what that looks like here. So these are the beds broken out by type. Without context, it looks like quite a few beds. Let me show you what it looks like, how they were full this year. 81% full in emergency shelters. Again, this count was January 22nd to the 27th. So on the night of the 22nd, this is what that occupancy looked like. 81% for emergency shelter. That might at first blush look like, wow, that's low, but HUD does say 80% to 85% is pretty good because that means you have capacity to endure a surge of individuals and folks. So it's not necessarily a negative or a positive. It just shows that we had capacity on that night. And you can see the other housing intervention types there. It might look a little strange with 103% in transitional housing. All that means is that there were more people than beds. This could be cribs, this could be babies, things that where 2 people might sleep in one bed. So it's not unusual. If it was 115%, we would do a lot more inspecting on what's going on there. But this all looks pretty in range. And here you can see what that's looked like year after year. I want to thank Zoe Helm, who put this graphic together for us, really doing the work of putting these beds together. So just going back to that original slide, looking at this graph, if you can see here, we had an increase in emergency shelter beds of 378. So last year, at this time, we're looking into that, but that seems to be the Trent shelter coming online with those increase of beds from last year to this year's count. And then we had a loss of emergency housing vouchers. This is just a result of COVID funding dwindling out. So in that section where you see other permanent housing, you can see a drop of 1220 to 860. That's being seen in other communities as well. So nothing irregular there on those emergency housing vouchers. With that, that's pretty much it. 10 minutes isn't a long time, so I want to leave room for some questions. I'll get back up to
Questions? Council President.
So Daniel, was there any real significant difference in the race demographics from this census based on our prior one that you?
No, I'd have to look at that. We're writing up the full PIT report. This is going to be a several-page document that's going to go through what we did locally, the methodology. It's going to have a trend section. We'll note that so that we can look at that demographic piece year after year. What I will say is that since COVID, our Native American population, which was decreasing in the last half of the decade, has seen a rise. The exact figures I don't have, unfortunately. Councilmember Cathcart.
Councilmember Dillon can go first.
Just 2 questions. Thank you. Just really quick. I guess I'd be curious too to see a little bit more about the age of folks that were included in here, and then also I have to just wonder about the maybe reluctance to answer some of the questions or the methodology and how you encounter that, particularly with race. And I think those are alarming statistics about what we see for Black and Indigenous communities, but also folks who are trans and non-binary, because we know based on a lot of studies and data, and also hear it about folks that are homeless because of their gender, if they've been kicked out of their home or experienced severe trauma. So yeah, I would be curious too, like what does that kind of process look like, how accurate you feel about the numbers if folks are reluctant to answer or comfortable?
Yeah, what I can say is that process starts early with the planning committee for the point-in-time count and ensuring that there's representation on that planning committee, working with outreach teams who are the experts at doing this, going out and doing these surveys amongst the volunteers. So there is 2 groups. There are professional level outreach workers that go out and do this survey, getting those hard to reach folks. who understand the things that you do, council member. And then we have the volunteers who do get training on how to approach and how to draw out information. If you're asking if this is a perfect no, that's why this is called an estimate. And we do know, I think in other communities as well, I do work in King County, we're constantly looking at our BIPOC population and folks who identify with multiple genders, multiple female identifying folks, safety and being able to draw out that survey information. For this one, in that full PIT report, we'll go through what that committee planning looked like and the makeup of that, and I think that will give you some sense of the robust planning that went into that to ensure exactly what you're talking about, getting those surveys done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, I mean, what sort of outcomes do you believe that you can interpret safely with the data that we have here, especially as it relates to the BIPOC communities, because we also don't have, and I think there's a lot of information lacking, such as entrance to homelessness, exits from homelessness, your path to Spokane. Were you born here? Did you come here? And I think there's a lot of that information that would actually be really, really important to have along with that BIPOC information to draw conclusions. And I'm just wondering, do you believe that you have enough data here to firmly draw conclusions?
Yeah, I think at the heart of that question might be, is this analytical data or is this operational data? I would put this more in the camp of this is a descriptive analysis on one night a week. There are other reports that can show on a quarterly basis or a weekly basis what that is looking like. I would say that's more operational data, and that's where you'd want to work with the homeless management information team to look at that. I think that will give you a richer data set to make some planning efforts around. Although this report is accurate, it's done in the way that HUD prescribes it. I would just say if you want to operationalize this data, there might be other data sets out there for you that could do just as good a job, if not better.
Were there other questions asked that's not included in this presentation that will be on that 24th?
Yes, there are other questions that were asked that we're still inspecting that data. Yeah. This is just the HUD report that was submitted just 2 weeks ago. So this is what HUD got. You're getting what HUD gets, and then we'll have those local questions ready for you on the 24th.
And this might be in your full report, like where are those 1,386 beds? Who are those providers? Like 300 at Trent, blah, 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 blah. Because it's hard for me to really get my head around that number of beds without having some idea of who those providers are.
Yeah, that's really good feedback for details on that report. We have that information, so yes.
Any other questions? Anyone online? Thank you. No. All right. Seeing no more.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. I know we've been anticipating to see that information, so thank you. Next I have up council discussion on HHOS funding. I don't know if we needed more presentation or information or questions answered, but I put it on the agenda because we've been having a lot of chatter about it and thought it might be helpful for us to all kind of talk about which direction to go for next steps on that funding.
I know for me, I'm still waiting on that memo from legal, and so I have yet to see anything in writing, and because I did not leave our exec session with any questions answered, so I'm just waiting on that for next steps.
And Chris, did you put in the request with legal or follow up with them yet?
I did on Thursday or Friday. I'm not sure which day it was. I don't have an ETA on that yet.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see, we had some amendments that were floated out there, and I want to see the next steps.
Yeah, spoke with Mike Piccolo, and my understanding, Mr. Chris Wright can correct me, we have the ability to vote down the recommendations on that list. We do not have the ability to add any programs to that list.
However, 1.7 of that is from our general fund, so that should not be subject to any of those sorts of restrictions.
Councilmember Klitsky?
I think the problem is that we already did an RFP, and so we would have to do a new RFP if we wanted to change anything. So we could remand it, is my understanding, but we can't do our own process outside of the RFP.
So again, we can vote on each one individually, which one we would would like to approve off that list and decline the ones we don't. But again, we cannot add any new ones unless there's a new RFP process that goes out. That's my understanding. Am I close?
I believe that's correct, but I think the legal opinion will tell us a little more.
And then if it does require going to a new RFP, I think the question is that the interest of council members is to do another RFP process or get the funding out sooner rather than doing another RFP process? I don't know if people are ready to make a choice or still just waiting on more information.
Well, I mean, I think council strongly encouraged, or some, I won't say all of council, but some council members strongly encouraged a rethinking of the RFP when there were some folks that were kind of excluded from the process in the second go-around. And so I would go back to that date and say we should have done it a comprehensive RFP then, and I would support doing that now because we should have done it then.
Councilmember Dillon, looked like you. Oh, no.
No, I just, want to find a path forward. I think, it's troublesome that we're here and these contracts, my understanding, and I'm looking at it, Nicolette, need to be in place July 1st. So again, we're on a deadline crunch. So I hope we get some clarification from legal fairly quickly. And how do we maybe get some bridge contracts going? When do those contracts get signed? Need clarification. Is it right when council votes and then we start going into contracts? There's still some answers that we need.
Councilmember Klinsky.
I think one thing we do need to keep in mind, because this train may have already left the station, is that we could reform the process for next time, which might be the best thing we can do.
I was wondering too, because I've heard the idea floated of maybe, I guess, more like a bridge, a year to 2 years, and then in that time period doing a review of the process. I think that's kind of one path forward, or as Councilmember Cathcart, I guess, is advocating for, if it requires. It sounds like you're preferring redoing it all now rather than a 1 to 2 year bridge.
Generally, that would be my preferred, yes.
Councilmember Navarrete.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify that because we are still waiting for paperwork and clarification from the HHOS, that the contracts are not going to be on hold or delayed, just for the record. And like city council members are not going to be at fault or anything, but this is paperwork that we need to see and have clarified.
Thanks. Councilmember Bingle.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would prefer to see a shorter window, and I think I've said that a lot. I prefer to see, a 1 year award as opposed to, 3 for sure, maybe 2. But, as we continue to work hard and try to establish a regional homeless authority, those meetings have restarted. I appreciate the mayor coming to our May 30th meeting there and sharing her thoughts on regional homeless authority. But if we start awarding contracts for multiple years, I think it gets more complicated to transition things into a regional authority if that were to be agreed upon and established by the city of Spokane, the county, the valley, the surrounding areas. And so for me, I prefer a shorter term. 1 year I know is not ideal forever, and 5 year was too long. 3 year might be ideal, but again, the shorter term for now, as we're trying to establish the regional homeless authority, makes the most sense to me.
Councilmember Cathcart, and then we'll have.
Yeah, and I would say, I would generally agree with Councilmember Bingle, but with some of the new information regarding kind of the, I guess, lack of moving forward with a regional effort and sort of some of the comments from the administration on, that not being their preferred method. I'm just not sure that a 1 year versus a 5 year even makes all that much difference anymore. Because that was the whole point, was to make sure that we'd have dollars for that regional effort. And now I just not sure a regional effort's going to happen. So,
Ariel?
Thank you very much. So I do want to say that there was a follow-up email that was sent last week, and this was from Dawn Kinder, and this was after the CHHS board meeting, where she had kind of elaborated on what potentially could happen with the delay of the contracts. I am happy, I won't summarize that here, but I am happy to push that out to all of the council members and staff, and so that you can kind of see where she was coming from on that. And in addition, what I will say, at least with the 1 year, 2 year funding, is that already existing and baked into these contracts is always the ability for the city to step back from those. So I do want to say that don't let that be I would hope that wouldn't be a hindrance to doing anything beyond 1 year, because there's always a contractual kind of out, so to speak. So anyways, Don is not, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was going to ask Chris, actually, do you know what that process would be if we approved contracts and then decided to cancel them? How would that come to council, or how would that work? I'm just curious.
I don't know that. That's one of the questions we're asking. So
Okay.
is what is the effect of, some council action or another on a particular grant?
Okay.
That was it.
Did you have more?
No,
Or-
I have that. I have nothing more.
Council President?
I have to concur with Councilmember Klitsky that we may think this was a flawed process or not the best process. We are so far down the track at this point. Again, we can approve or disapprove individual people, organizations on that list, but to start over and for us do our due diligence, absolutely, but to be the Monday morning quarterback of this whole process, I feel a little challenged with us doing that. So at this point in time, I mean, it's the bottom of the ninth right now. Councilman Cathcart.
Yeah, I mean, I hear exactly what you're saying, but I also think, they sort of came to us in the fourth inning and said, hey, let's do, there's an opportunity here to do something different. Of course, they went out for a kind of a limited RFP, but we as a council at that point in time could have made a firmer stance when there was still plenty of time. So we're always going to be bottom of the ninth. We're always going to be pushed up against a corner, because that's how you get hard decisions forced through. So we're always going to be in that scenario until we start saying no, and then I think magically we'll start to see a different outcome.
Any other comments on HHOS? Well, it looks like we still have quite a bit of time left, and I was wondering if people also wanted to talk about 1590 RFP, similar situation there, of what thoughts are on progress or steps forward on that one. If not, we can save that for another day.
Another hour.
Another hour. Keep that in the back of your mind, and we can have another conversation about 1590. So that brings us to the bottom of the agenda for council standing reports and updates. So we'll start with the Housing Action Subcommittee. And then Nicolette, once you do that, you can move into your update too of what you've been working on in the last month.
Hi guys. So in the spirit of brevity, I'm going to kind of get some of these all at once. So the Housing Action Subcommittee last met, and the day before the last standing meeting, the RFP for the 1590 funds was released. And so we spent the entire Housing Action Subcommittee meeting going over the RFP and talking to the various members about their reactions to the RFP, the degree to which it did or did not match the SMC. And after that discussion, the members who were present in the group asked for me to help them ask the administration for the RFP to be pulled. Doesn't seem like that, will happen or really theoretically could happen at this point. I do think that there is space for making recommendations for how that should look going forward based on their feedback. I should note, though, that a few members of the Housing Action Subcommittee that were fully on board with asking for the RFP to be pulled later did tell me that they were worried about what that might do to some of the projects that are ready to be funded, and so that even though they didn't think the process nor the RFP was ideal, that they were happier with some of it going out than not. And so there were some sort of mixed feelings after the meeting that some folks expressed to me. I do think that this warrants a larger conversation with council members and perhaps a joint session or something, I don't know, with what this looks like for the Housing Action Subcommittee going forward. And the ruminations I've been hearing about trying to take 1590 from the Housing Action Subcommittee, I think it'd be really good for council members to be able to weigh in on that, to see what it is that they want to see the Housing Action Subcommittee do, if they still want 1590 to be under their purview, so that we can communicate that out to that subcommittee that has been really trying to be a subcommittee for quite some time against much resistance from the previous administration and the current administration. So I'm going to move down to the Housing and Homelessness Initiative Manager update. So I've been working on all things 1590 and HHOS, of course, as you might imagine. The very exciting thing that's coming up next week is that we're going to AWC, and so I will be joining the Spokane delegation going up there. Last year, it was one of the highlights of my year, including being able to take some of the folks who were in from other cities, including the mayor and some council members from Tacoma, to tour the track shelter. Now this will be our turn to be in a different city, and it'll be in Vancouver, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to offer and learning more and bringing that back to council members and to staff. The toolkits that AWC always has are fantastic. The connections I've been able to make and keep in contact with people throughout the last year since the last AWC on what they're doing with 1590 and what they're doing with certain pieces of legislation statewide and how we can coordinate our efforts going forward has been invaluable. So I'm very excited about that. I know we might be running late on time with other stuff. Do you want me to do my...
We are good on time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do the regional authority presentation you wanted now, or do you want to do it later?
The update for basically the presentation that we got earlier.
Well, you'd asked me to put together a small presentation on the history of the whole regional authority conversation.
No, that was miscommunication then. No, we were going to have Commissioner Waldrop come and do the
Okay.
same presentation that she did to that meeting.
Sweet.
to
Okay,
give us
well,
background.
I did put together a timeline, so I can just circulate it to you guys if
Okay.
you want.
Yeah,
that
sorry
So we don't have
about
to go
that.
over that now.
Yeah.
That would be helpful for me to see the timeline, I think.
Yeah, and actually, since and then what I'll do is I'll hyperlink up parts of these so they actually go through all of the documentations too. I mean, it will be a very long document, but you'll be able to just click and hunt and peck with what you actually want. But a last thing I really do want to say, like during my just initiative manager update, the HHOS stuff, the 1590 stuff can be really confusing, especially for council members who may not have been here through previous conversations about it. I would encourage you to reach out and have an extra one-on-one with me where we can just go over that. You can also do it, up to 3 council members at a time if you guys want to do that, so you guys can talk and kind of figure out where your heads are about these things. I'll make myself available for that. And were there any other questions or anything like that?
All right, thank
right,
you very much,
thanks.
Nicolette. So we'll just keep it in order and we'll get to the Regional Homeless Authority towards the bottom. Neighborhood Council Work Group update.
Haven't met.
Haven't met. Isn't there someone meeting with the work group from Community Assembly? Isn't that
Yes.
continuing?
2-3 people from CA.
So
Yeah.
that one I think is effectively this, but they haven't met in last month. Is that right?
I
okay.
think it's been a while, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Our next meeting is the 26th, and the plan is to kind of they're working on getting me all of the resolutions that they've sent in the last 6 months and a year in one kind of group, and then I can start moving them to the appropriate committee to start implementing our new plan for responding to boards and commissions.
Thanks. CHHS Board.
Yeah, we met last week. We did discuss the HHOS funding, which we heard a lot about today. And they're revising their bylaws. And then Jerry Rathman resigned as chair. So we're looking for a new chair.
Comp plan amendments docketing, I think that's effectively done for the year.
Yeah. I hope we don't have any more documents.
Yeah,
That would be weird.
Yeah. One done, except for I skipped Community Assembly.
Well, I have to say, Community Assembly is amazing. If you can make it, do come. They are really pleased that they're being invited to the conversations. But like Jacoby said, we are getting a lot of resolutions from the neighborhood councils and Community Assembly. And one of their complaints was, and some validity to this, they sent it to all 7 council members. And so it's like, well, who owns it and who's going to acknowledge it? So we're working on a streamlined process to let them know that we have received it, and then we'll get some type of response in a timeline, again, coming out of that work group as to how we go forward with that. and continue conversations about the combining of the transportation committees and what that will look like.
Any questions for Council President? Great. I think the structure of having you being there this year has been really helpful compared to previous years.
Yeah.
So,
More consistent.
And more consistent, yeah, that's been great.
Human Rights Commission. Is that Councilmember Navarrete?
Yeah, she's got.
That's me. Give me a second here. Okay. Sorry, getting my notes. Okay, so we met last week, and Natasha Hill presented on the Black Lens and highlighted the amazing work that Sandy Williams did for the Black Lens. And we also had Lisa Gardner present on the history and significance of Juneteenth through that NAA. Let's see, we also discussed bringing different organizations, service providers together to collaborate and develop synergy, so that basically bring like the Latina, Black organizations, Asian Pacific Islanders, and work together to share activities and whatnot. And also Chair Anwar Peace was invited to a police chief finalist discussion. And that's all.
Councilmember Navarrete, is that commission fully staffed? Or do you have a full complement of commission members?
I believe now it is fully staffed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Mhm.
Great. Thank you very much. What do we got next? Plan Commission and Plan Commission Subcommittee, Transportation Subcommittee.
So there's been 2 meetings of the Planning Commission. We workshopped several things and approved the agenda for the hearing for the next one. And then, so they had their hearing on the 6-year street plan. I have not seen their findings yet, and they have encouraged us not to send council members to their hearing because they're advisory to us, and they said it was awkward. So I try to respect that. So still waiting to hear what their findings were on that. But I assume they approved it. And then the Plan Commission Transportation Subcommittee had a workshop on the makeup of the new Transportation Commission. And I think they still have feedback about that, but they haven't sent me anything formally yet.
All right. Great, thank you. Any questions? The Public Partnerships has not convened this year yet. Should probably do that now that we're 6 months in. I know I sent a reminder a few months ago, so should probably follow up. But tomorrow is a tour of the new Chaz Clinic at Shadle Park High School around 10 o'clock that council members have been invited to. So if you would like to go, check it out. Downtown Spokane bid board and DSP at the same time probably makes sense to do back to back.
I can do DSP real quick, and then if Jonathan has anything to add for bid. So for DSP, just a couple things real quick. The annual State of Downtown is this Friday at 8:30. Their keynote address is a gold medal winning architect, Carol Ross Barney, from the American Institute of Architects. By the way, council members are all invited. If you've not yet RSVP'd, reach out to Emily if you'd like to go. And then the other note here I've got is following up on their Downtown Dialogues event several weeks ago on downtown housing development. DSP staff is also requesting an opportunity to meet with council, either individually, and they have reached out to Jacoby to talk about the possibility of a study session to discuss some downtown housing ideas, concerns, et cetera. And they want to focus specifically on how current market conditions are impacting the development of downtown housing, current opportunities to improve regulations, and what incentives to enact or to update. So that is what I have from DSP.
Jonathan, anything to add? Councilmember Mingle?
Yeah, nothing much to add over that. While they're separate, they're very similar issues, and a lot of the things I was going to say, Councilmember Cathcart just went over. So,
Great. Next is the GMA Steering Committee of Elected Officials.
we met since?
Yeah, we had some discussion on a water MOU, which isn't usually something that comes before the steering committee of elected officials. And so we're working with the administration to figure out that plan. And then I also volunteered for the interlocal agreement committee. We approved adding tribal members as voting members to the steering committee of elected officials, but the interlocal agreement will kind of determine how that plays up. That opens up a whole can of worms when we enter that discussion. So if anyone has comments or concerns, please talk to me before I go to that meeting. And what was the last thing? We did 3 things. I can't remember the last thing. I had it, and then I started talking about the interlocal agreement, and I forgot.
I can't remember. There was another action item, though, on our agenda.
Oh, we adopted for the methodology for dealing with the income bands in the new housing element of the new comprehensive plans. We adopted the option of creating a method C because method A seems to be not quite the right fit. It's kind of like the Goldilocks situation. Method B wasn't quite right either. So we've asked the PTAC to create a method C, which could be difficult, but the Commerce does have guidelines, and hopefully we'll find something that's a good fit for Spokane and our geologic and market realities.
That's good.
Launch Northwest, I know I wasn't able to go. I don't know if Councilmember Navarrete or Cathcart were able to go.
I was at the Post Street Bridge.
Post Street, yeah, I think there were about 4 events happening at that same time as the state workshop, and lots going on that day. But I do know
I didn't
that
go either.
okay, we had a meeting with the ARPA work group about the partnership with Launch Northwest and the Cultural Center Navigators. They had 5 applicants for their 5 positions for their Cultural Center Navigators, and the city, we had planning on doing 2 more to supplement that. So we just met last week with Councilmember Navarrete, Councilmember Bingle, and I as the sub-work group on that. We were talking about if there were more applicants likely, and we think that there are, and Alex was going to reach back out. That was just Friday. So we're double checking to make sure that it'll be a successful response, but we think that there will be at least 2 more organizations. Library Board.
Yeah, I actually had a conflict with the last one, but it was a light agenda. We had revising the library volunteer policies and code of conduct.
Park Board.
The Park Board met, and the biggest concern coming out of the Park Board continues to be, park levy, how it fits into the overall city plan for the year. I know that the pro committee for the park levy is currently not meeting because of the uncertainty there, and so they're just hoping for some more clarity from the administration on where it all fits in. So that's sort of the big update from Park Board.
Thank you. Priority Spokane.
Unfortunately, I missed that one.
The Regional Homeless Authority, Councilmember Bingle, do you want to provide that one?
Yeah, so we got to meet together again, and there was great participation. There was probably, 30 or so people in that room, including representatives from, the city of Spokane, obviously. Councilmember Zappone and I were there, and the mayor was there. We had county representatives and Commissioner Kearns and Waldrop. We had valley representation with Mayor Haley and Councilmember Hattenberg. And then we had small cities representatives from Cheney, Millwood, Medical Lake, from all over. We had a lot of people there, lots of providers and community members as well. And the idea is that people still want to, or the vast majority of people still want to move forward. There was some uncertainty based on some of the mayor's comments that made people pull back a little bit and say, is this something that the city of Spokane is wanting to do? Because some of it there seemed a little contradictory. And so those are things that we're working through where as Councilmember Cathcart alluded to earlier, we do have, governmental partners asking us, like, are you guys in or not? Because we're not all that interested in spending another, 9 months, 10 months, a year doing this if it feels like, we're just spinning our wheels. So that would be something that, as we move forward, I think would be helpful to get some clarity on that issue.
Yeah, I would just add that Commissioner Waldriff presented a historical background on it, and we thought it was really great to catch up. And I asked her to come to present to us, especially for new council members who haven't been part of the conversation for the last year, to get that background and history. And then the mayor spoke. Well, actually, we got a presentation from staff from the city, the county, and the valley about the collaborations that they're already currently doing and have been doing, and kind of how that's been a shift from historical practice. And so that was great to hear that update. And I think the mayor was proposing, how can we focus on things that we all can agree on right now and get that going, whether that be an MOU or something like that, to codify these collaborations that we're doing while still having longer discussions about our regional homeless authority. And I'd say there was kind of a discussion about which way should we come about it. We've been looking at like board composition and makeup, and maybe we need to come at it by looking at the values. Last year, it kind of ended with saying the future board would determine the values that the entity would be dealing with and how they would deal with it. But a couple people are bringing up, should we do the reverse, talk about the values and then get to the board composition, or others? I think there's still going to be ongoing conversations about that.
I will say you were right. It was nice to hear the update from John and Gloria and spacing on his name right now. Used to work for us, CHHS. George, thank you. Yes, George. It was nice to hear how they are currently working together. I think that's fantastic news. The one problem with that, obviously, is that if that hasn't always been the case, and there's never been a direction given there, then it's pretty personnel dependent. And that's why, while it's great to hear about, the cooperation, the collaboration, which is very good, I commend Dawn and the others, Ariel, who are, working to coordinate these things. I think that's great news. But we can't have it be personnel dependent. There needs to be some sort of agreement, I think, between the surrounding areas to get something lasting.
And there was an ask to figure out a facilitator going forward, because we don't currently have a facilitator, and thought it was valuable not to have one of the members who is participating to be the facilitator. And so I think that may be something that we need to be looking at, a partnership with some of the jurisdictions about how we can all work together to potentially fund a facilitator to keep this moving forward. Spoken Arts, last one.
I'll be brief. So talked a lot about the asphalt art program. Really excited to see the project in Hilliard come together. And I know Manitou is excited about, in District 2, picked Chris Bovey as an artist. So you can expect a nice South Hill turkey rendering outside the Scoop, our favorite mascot in that neighborhood. And then, it was just, I'll be really quick, but it was really, I think, tough to have the meeting, the touching up of the Pride mural. I mean, this was last month, and then the vandalism immediately after. And I think we've seen, an outpouring of community support. I was happy to see a lot of the statements and work from just Spokane Arts, Spokane Pride, SPD, Lime, the statement that they made and how they've made the Pride mural effectively a no-ride zone, and just to see the community really rally together.
And there's also Spokane that's got a grant from Commerce too for that too.
They did, yeah. We'll be talking about that soon, about the Perry Crosswalk.
Question on that, does that mean that that'll be going to traffic calming since the original dollars came from traffic calming?
I don't, like the commerce grant go back to it? I don't think so. I think this is just for repair. Yeah, not for a new program. It was just for repair.
Well, just a quick comment. I just want to thank the arts. We are working on actually putting the picture of former Mayor Jim Chase in the Chase Gallery. So there will actually be an unveiling in September, so look forward to that. And thanks to Art Commission for really being helpful in driving that process.
All right, with that, that brings us to the end of our agenda. The next Urban Experience Committee meeting will be July 8th. No? Yes, it'll be July 8th. That'll be a double public safety and urban experience. And we are adjourned.